Hello TEC, TNT here, bringing you Week 5 of your Season 7 weekly recaps. As always, most of this is jokes, and the rest of it is just my opinion, and none of it is meant to reflect on any of you as players or people, so please do not take anything personally. So we start, as always, with the first match played in Asia Slash this week. We have Vanilla against Namdu. Vanilla won 5-0, and this has to be the single most wholesome game chat I have ever seen. Why can't one of you be not likable so I know who to root for? If Prison is the main character, then this battle was the duel between two supporting cast members who you just can't root against. The game itself ended as a blowout, but only because Nilla got 5 hits on a scale shot and had a mid-roll of 63% go his way. Next we have Unknown versus Lucat. Unknown won 2-0, and so Unknown picks up his first win as an Asia coach. In only his second game, he made Trevor and UCL look even worse than they already did. That UCL versus TEC vid, or whatever they ended up calling it, has continued to age even better than before. I could never hope to create something so timeless. This game came down to Scarf Gren clicking Gunk. Let's just say it wasn't Stormblessed this time. Next we have JK versus Pulsey. JK won 4-0. As JK continues to win by playing Brain Dead Rain, Pulsey's disappointing season continues. You are not Prison. You need to at least try to prep. The continual lack of prep, and subsequent lack of winning, from Pulsey is frustrating to watch. Pulsey brought nothing remotely close to a Rain answer, and JK remains unpunished for the predictable Rain roster this season. Next we have JTK against Orange, and our choke of the week goes to Orange, who did what? Clicking TR when TR was already up with Rune on cart, allowing it to sub up because he wanted to go last? You want to go last? Why'd you want to go last? Oh. Removing his own trick room and giving the cart a free +1 in sub, which forced himself to give another sack. Orange, you should demote yourself right now. What is it with this Kartana and people choking against it? Does JTK practice voodoo? I need answers. Next up, we have Prison versus Amarillo. Prison won 4-0, and we have our hacks of the week. There are 3 takeaways from this one. 1. Prison's plot armor is unstoppable. He has further proven himself to be the main character. 2. Mega Pidgeot is better than Torn T because it doesn't miss. No guard better than Regen confirmed. Torn T sucks, it loses to Specs Grottle, it should be 1 point. 3. Deoxys no plot is just bad. Literally slower Regieleki that can hit ground types. Unmon. Next we have Clash of Max versus Maverick. Maverick won 6-0, and we have our blowout of the week. Turn 6 GG and a 6-0 win. Mav just couldn't have saved it one more week for the 666. 665 just is worse for some reason. The Sunny Day Illumise was fire. Silvally once again shows why it's actually better Arceus, and Mav continues to absolutely destroy the top division of TEC. Of course, he has yet to face the main character. I look forward to that showdown in playoffs. Next, we have Oren versus Jake. Oren won 2-0, and Oren stopped clicking Scald and just click CM. It's Win-Kun. Just calm mind and win. My frustration with the early game aside, this game was a really fun one. It came down to how many Icicle Spears hit as to whether Kyurem cleaned or not. Well played from both. Next we have Yuck against Keenan. Yuck won 2-0, and 25 turns of no kills setting up the game, and then another 23 after the game was broken open. The first 25 were something out of our dear leader's ladder replays. So conservative. Being conservative was optimal here, but it was still boring. A close second for the Orange Award. Well played from both. Next we move to Doublade, and we have Hydro against Chimp. Chimp won 2-0. You could have switched in anything but the SD Chomp on the Scald Hydro. Literally anything else, and you could have won that one. Switching Swords Dance Mons in on Scald is just asking to get punished. This time, justice was served. Well played from Chimp, but Hydro should have done better in this one. Next, we have Freezerman against Lucifer. Freezerman won 1-0. And what was that Pult set? Mixed Dual Ghost. Sad it didn't work. Pult takes yet another L this season. 10 points is the absolute max for this one. And we have our game of the week. Kept me guessing as to who the winner would be until the very end. Well played from both, but Lucifer could have used a bit more viability in the sets. Stored Power Sylveon was not the play. Next we have TG against Zach. TG won 2-0. And Water Pulse Go Click. Counter is fairly common tech, but it won this one and kept TG undefeated. Zach's predictable Rain team was punished due to its one-dimensional nature. Remember, kids, in draft, Rain makes you 4-4 or 5-3 with no skill, but it also means you likely won't win a chip. Good rosters with half-decent counterplay just body Rain. Next, we have Pineapple against Pawn. And Pawn, did you have nothing to break Gligar on the Medi? Doesn't that get Ice Punch? All you had to do is break the Gligar earlier, and then that Lele still cleaned you out. Not much you could do about that. The Scarf mod as Psyshock was a great bring. I'm also mildly confused by the decision to sack Grimmsnarl. Milo was dead, Zebra was the far better sack, well played from Pineapple, and it was a deserved win. Next we have Woex against Flip. Flip won 1-0, and Zero Aura Unmon confirmed. Also, this would be Hacks of the Week if Willix didn't literally lose the game by toxicking himself. If it weren't for Orange's Galaxy Brain Trick Room play, this would have been Choke of the Week. The Paras were unfortunate, but when you toxic your own Audino, by clicking Toxic on a Mega Absol that is already in and that everyone knows just stays in and clicks Knockoff, this loss is deserved. Now each div has a Hon Edge moment this week, except for Hon Edge. Also, Flip, did you seriously miscreep your Absol? You would have gotten a much harder time had Willix remembered that Magic Bounce is in fact a thing. Count yourself lucky in both getting the win and avoiding the rant. John versus Luke. We have John winning 4-0 and our Orange Award game. That endgame was so unnecessarily long. I am certain our Fruit Overlord is overjoyed to see his lower divs following in his stally footsteps. John should have stayed Finny the entire time during that endgame, instead of switching to Chomp on and off to maintain the differential point. Otherwise, he played well. Luke had a great strategy, but it was thwarted by him not foreseeing Hage Finny. My dude literally has a Spectrider, Mega Gyarados, Salamence, and Lando T. Why would Finny not be Haze? Why not? Everything points to Finny being Haze. Anyway, well played overall, but there was quite a bit of stall in this one. Next, we have Jerion against Dom. Jerion won 2-0, and with a mixed Scarf Steela, no less. Set of the week, what a bring. Flamethrower for Cart and Melm, and Heavy Slam for literally anything else. Perfect bring, not much Dom can do about that. Also, nickname of the week, for the Decidui, All Owl No Scope. That was very creative. I have not heard that one before. Both played well, but the Steela bring was just too much for Dom's roster to handle. Next, we have Braden against Finley. And Finley won 2-0 in a great game that finished in Sucker Mind Games. This one was well played from A to Z. Finley just made the right play on the decision. And yes, I said decision, not 50-50. It's more of a 70-30 in favor of clicking sub, as getting sub right results in a win, just like getting an attack in does. But getting sub wrong isn't an instant loss like an attack is. It's not a 50-50 decision until the final sub. The defender always has the advantage in that situation, and it was well played correctly. Well done both. Now we switch to Hon Edge with Metal against Herb, and when used like this, Mega Pidgeot is impossible to keep away from good kill counts. The thing is a machine. Beautifully played game from Metal and a solid one from Herb, forcing a tight endgame. It was a very fun watch. Next we have Karl against Scorp. Karl won 2-0, and Scorp, that was quite the Heat Blaze set. Too bad it has the approximate bulk of a moped being hit by a train. This battle was solid, and the lack of a glaring flaw in Scorp's strategy was an improvement. Keep ironing out your playstyle, it'll come. Karl also played well. He's been showing some flashes of how he can consistently win PDC season over season, even though his record this season hasn't quite lived up to what I've seen for his ability level. Good job both. Next we have Curthwack versus Tebow time, and my man really just calm-minded up with a Comfy in front of a Celesteela. That was a yikes. Other than that, both of you played well. Tail Slap was unfortunate, but it didn't change the end result, just the differential. Hon Edge is casually having less chokes in the upper two divisions right now. Has the apocalypse come? Next we have Iron Quacker against Jake. And Jake had a 95% chance to win in that endgame, and he lost. Really tough luck. This game had a lot of back and forth and was well played, and as a result was very fun to watch. Fun fact, because the Toge nickname reminded me of something. In certain dialects of Spanish, the pronunciation of Colgate is pronounced Holgate, which has the same pronunciation as the act of hanging oneself. Enjoy your nickname, Jake. Next, we have Barak against Smite. Smite won 3-0, and that was a lot of RNG. It all was even in the end, though. Smite's roster is just too good because most of Hon Edge laid an egg during the draft, Unsubtle Egg Div Plug. And as a result, they now have to deal with Mega Laid, Torn T, and Zygarde 50. Barak played it well, but when you let someone draft a Natdex OU squad that isn't Rain, you will probably have a tough time. Well done both. Next, we have Pumpkin against SKZ. Pumpkin won 5-0, and Mew go Burr. To be fair to SKZ, this is another team where the rest of Hon Edge choking the draft comes back to bite them. Shifu Single, Zapdos, Mew, and Ghost Horse are all on one team. It's a big oof. This would have been a 6-0 if it weren't for the crit on Steelix. Not much to say on this one other than using it as more proof of how broken Pumpkin's roster is. Next, we have Labs versus Tanksworth. Tanksworth won 3-0, and Tank chokes away 2 differential points and strengthens the Pult for 10 points case in a win. You have a whole Sylveon and Mega Aggron. Why stay Pult on the Noivern? And then you have Aggron. Why did you sack Nido again on the Noivern? Those 2 unnecessary sacks aside. Tank played well in a matchup win over Labs' squad. Nothing much Labs could do about this one. Our next match was Flintless against Tact, but Tact won on forfeit, and it's Crusade time. The absolutely gorgeous man that you see on your screen is Pope Innocent III. And I've covered the Zoomy edition of pretty much the entire timeline of the 4th Crusade, but I forgot to discuss the way in which the Crusades were funded and why the 4th one was an absolute nightmare. Normally, a crusade begins at the request of the Pope and receives large monetary and military contributions from the kings who then lead the crusade. What made the 4th iteration of this long-running series different was that Pope Innocent III wanted direct control over the 4th Crusade. To maintain this, he relied on purely church funds and individual crusaders' fairs. As a result, the crusade had no clear leader. The Pope sent legates, but they were more than often ignored. Just look at the Siege of Zara for a good example of this. And this power and money vacuum created all of the issues that made the 4th Crusade an absolute logistical disaster. And with that, I thank you all for watching, and see you next week.